Welcome everybody to a new video of Tradomics. This is Dario and we're going to have a look at the main Chinese indexes. As for the last video, we start with China A50 Index. So according to what we said, here we were expecting an hook towards the upside in order to close the first T+2 upward cycle from this top. So here we had a total duration of 23 bars, which is mostly a T plus 1H rather than a T plus 2. So we have had just 23 bars. So here we can have the first T plus 1H. So we were expecting this push toward the upside. And from this top, now we can say that we have started a new T plus 2, at least a T plus 2, because now here the total duration is definitely more than enough to say this is a T plus 2. For the same reason, here we can update the chart and put rather than a T plus 2, a T plus 4 upward cycle. Therefore, from this top, we have started at least a 6 months upward cycle that requires at least a T plus 2 in terms of number of candles below this top to be developed. So the T plus 4 can last between 94 and 168 days, but considering that this sub-cycle, which is the largest one, a T plus 5 yearly cycle, has turned into a positive one, we will expect to return back to the tops. Of course, we have also to take into consideration that this climb was definitely artificial. So here we will have to see the confirmation from the algorithms that are playing on the Chinese markets. But this is basically what we can say regarding the Chinese index according to our methodology. Now, regarding the downward cycles, so here we can, for a time being, remove this arrow because that was definitely described in the other videos. So regarding the downward cycles, here we have a little bit of a double side interpretation. What does it mean? It means that we can have two ways in which we can analyze the chart. So first of all, from this low to this low here, we have had 20 bars. So this is definitely a T plus 1 cycle. 20 bars is the duration and composite between 13 to 22 bars. Now, from this low to here, we have had 30 bars. So if you remember in the last video, I was saying that either we would have had a return to the extreme lows to close the first T plus 2, or we could have had not to return to the lows, but something like this in order to close at T plus 2, okay? This is exactly what happened. So we did not return back to this low, but we closed the first T plus 2 after 30 days, and this low was higher compared to this one that was made on the 17th of October 2024. Now, the thing is that from this low, so from the low before the harsh jump, so on the 18th of September to here, we have had 30 bars. So here we can interpret this low as a T plus 2. Okay, first a T plus 2 and now second T plus 2. But this second T plus 2 is turned into a negative cycle. So therefore, we have to expect what? We have to expect a return to um, its low here in a time frame between 24 and 44 bars. So basically here we have the first T plus 1, but then they can do whatever they want, but then we have to return back to this low. Okay, so this is the first interpretation, and therefore the, the next week or the next 2 weeks, this let's say the trend of the China A50 can be to the downside, okay, to reach this low at 12,852. That's the level. But we can have also another interpretation. The second interpretation is that from this low here to this low that was made on the 25th of November, we have 48 bars. 48 bars is a T plus 2. It's already a T plus 3. So from this low, potentially here, we have all the sufficient and necessary condition to start what? To start a new T plus 3. Okay, so in this case, we don't have to return back to definitely the lows here, but we can start having a return at least back to this first target price, and then here to the second candle. Okay, so these are the two things that we can see from the chart. What can we say then? So first of all, from this low, for the reason given, we have to consider this as a T plus 1, T plus 2. And this low, so the low that was made on the 26th of November is another T plus, so the beginning of another cycle. Okay, we don't know yet whether this is just a T plus 3 or a T plus 1, which is already part of this T plus 2 that is negative. Okay, we don't know it yet. The confirmation that this would be mostly a T plus 3 rather than a T plus 2 will be at the breakout of this level at 13,458. So if we start going first over this level and then over this one, which is at 13,613, then here we can have a T plus 3. We might have some condition to have a T plus 3, sorry, not all the condition, because we need time after that. But if we return back first to this low and to this top and to this top, then we will have a T plus 3. If in the next days we will start losing actually the altitude, or we will start losing this key area here at 13,000, with a return back to its minimum lows, then we will have this condition here. Okay, so I delete all the arrows at the moment because we have a plan A and a plan B. So the plan A, back to the upside, first this level and then the second level. But if we have the T plus 2 here negative, then a return into this area. Okay, so that's what we can have on what we can analyze on China A50 with our methodology T cycle analysis. So now we move to the next one. Second index in focus is SZSE Composite Index. So in this case, we have had from an upward cycle perspective the same situation, because we have had the closing of the first T plus 1H after 23 bars. And from this top here, we have definitely the T plus 2. Okay, so here we can update the chart. And regarding the downward cycles, we have basically the same situation. From this low to here, so this low made on the 29th of October, potentially we have at the closing of the T plus 2 downward cycle after 25 days. But if we measure the total duration from this low to here, we have 45 days. 45 days is not really a T plus 3, but a T plus 2H. And given that, so this is the difference with the China A50. Given that this candle, so today's candle, broke up this high, here I would say that from this low, we might have the beginning of a T plus 2. So you understand a little bit the logic. I know that at the really beginning is not easy. But let's say that if from this low we have a T plus 2, because we have first T plus 2 and then second T plus 2, this T plus 2 is turning into a negative 1. Negative means that it was the low from which was born was broken with this candle after 20 days, so before its minimum duration, that is 24 days. And therefore, given that was broken before its minimum duration, we have to expect the return of its lows in a time range between 24 and 44 days in order to complete the T plus 2. Okay, so that's the first thing. But we can also have the combination of different T plus 1. So first T plus 1, second in this case T, which is a T plus 2, but a T plus 2 plus a T plus 1 in this case can make a T plus 2 hybrid because it's 45 days. And from here, we have the beginning of something else. And this beginning of something else at the moment is confirmed by the first condition in which we have a swing proof. We don't have time yet. We will need other bars here to say this is a T plus 2 because we have at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So it's not enough to say this is a T plus 2. Okay. But here we have the first condition. And that's why I would tend to consider, at least on the SZSE composite index, the beginning of a T plus 2 hybrid cycle from this low. This means that also on the Chinese A50, we might have, rather than a T plus 2 negative, the beginning of a T plus 3, because on the Chinese A50, we have 48 days. Here we have 45 days, so we have 3 days less. Okay, so here I would put a T plus 2H with a question mark. And in this case, if the frame is confirmed, for the next weeks, we will have more push to the upside compared to the downside. Because here we need time to develop this T plus 2. And given that we have already one condition, statistically speaking, we have more possibilities to go to the upside rather than to the downside. And the first target will be at 3,509 Chinese yuans. Okay, so I hope that this was understood. It's not really easy, I have to say, but you can always refer to the introduction to the T cycle analysis video that we have on our main page. You can click on the pop-up banner on the right hand side. Okay, so that's the thing on the SZSE composite, and let's move to the other ones. Regarding the Shenzhen composite component index, let's have a look firstly at the upward cycles as for the other indexes. So in this case, we have at 25 days rather than 23, and definitely the beginning of another T plus 2. First T plus 2 completed and not a T plus 1H, and second T plus 2. Now we can update the chart accordingly. So here we have from this top that was made on the 12th of November a T plus 2. And as for our color coding, we can put the yellow. And now the total duration of this T plus 2 has reached 16 days. So we are about to close a T plus 1, okay? So first, here we have the first weekly upward cycle and then the second weekly upward cycle. This cycle, so for the first weekly, we have had 6 days, and now here with the second weekly upward cycle, we have 8 days. So here we have already the possibility to have close a T plus 2 on Friday, 29th of November. So that's first and second. And then, of course, we will need more time to complete a T plus 2 upward cycle. So the T plus 2 can be completed between 24 and 44 days. So here, the T plus 2 can be completed by either 13th of December or at most 44 days means that can be completed by 10th of January 2025. Regarding the downward cycles, here we have at the T plus 1. Potentially here the closing of a T plus 2. But if we drag also or we gauge the total duration, we have the same situation as before. So here we have 45 days. Okay. In this case, though, like China A50, the candle that was made on the 2nd of December did not broke up this key swing that was done on the 20th of November. So here we have the same dilemma as for the China A50. So we can put either a T plus 2 here that is already negative, and therefore what we can expect next week or next 2-3 weeks, because we have up to 44 days to return into this area, okay, which is at 10,202 Chinese yuan. Or if in the next days we will have the break of this candle that was made on the 20th of November, and the key target is 10,875 Chinese yuan, then from here we might have the beginning of at least a T plus 2. Okay, this is a condition that we have not seen yet on the Shenzhen component index. Okay, so here we have at the moment we have to consider more that the T plus 2 is in place, rather than from here we have something like a T plus 3 or something else. Okay, but in any case I leave it like T plus, because we have to consider plan A and plan B. Okay, so that's the situation we have on the Shenzhen, and let's move to the next one. Regarding the CSI 300, we have basically similar situation as for the others, with some of course different variations, and the variation is not on the upward cycle, because in this case we have 23 bars plus the beginning of a T plus 2, which is a monthly cycle that has reached a total duration of 17 days. So first weekly upward cycle, and now we are about to close the second weekly upward cycle. But the difference here is that from this low to this low, so the low of the 31st of October, we have had 26 bars. But from the low that was done on the Monday, 25th of November, we have 43 bars. So from this low to this, and also to this low, we might have the beginning of a T plus 2. Now the difference, or let's say the thing, is that from here we have already all the condition to have a T plus 2 that is turned into a negative cycle. Therefore, we might have a little bit of a push, of a bounce, of a dead cat, whatever you want to call it, and then a return to the lows here to complete the T plus 2. Okay, but eventually we can be also open to have the T plus 2 that has begun from this low, but here we have still to demonstrate that this is a T plus 2, because we have just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, which is not enough to say this is a T plus 2. This T plus 2 can turn into a T plus 2, so without question mark, by having first the break of this high at 4,000 Chinese yuan, and then eventually to go to this second target here at 4,114.15. Okay, for the time being we don't have such evidence, but if in the next days, so it means Wednesday and Thursday, we will have a break of this high, then we might have more possibility that from this low we can sign a T plus 2, or we can attribute a T plus 2. Okay, but given that here we have something that was already done, I would tend to consider more this low as the beginning of the T plus 2. Therefore, statistically speaking, this is our main hypothesis. Okay, this is what can happen with more possibilities. I repeat, if in the next days this key level will not be broken up. Okay, that is what I can predict on the CSI 300. Let's move to the next. Last but not least, the Hang Seng Index. So as for our last analysis, we were predicting this move to the upside. We have had this move, which was definitely narrower compared to our arrow at 23 bars, and also for the other as for the other indexes here, we can put T+2 upward cycle from this top that has already begun. What can we say regarding the downward cycle? So here definitely we have a T+1, and regarding the other cycle here on the Hang Seng, we have a situation that is slightly different, because on the Hang Seng, the T+5 started definitely before the other cycles. Okay, it started on the January 19 of January 2024. So here, what is happening is that we have a first T+4, then we have another cycle. Now we can also gauge the total duration. So here we have 77 bars. So here we potentially have the closing of T+3, or even we might have the closing of an entire T+5. So here we have, look, first T+4, so 6 months downward cycle, and then another T+3 cycle. But here we have already enough days to complete the tail, not just of a T+3, not just of this T+3, but also of this T+5. Because if you sum the T+4 plus the T+3, we have 208 days, and 200 days is already a duration which is a little bit more than a minimum duration of a T+5, so of a yearly cycle. Okay, so this means that eventually, if the yearly cycle is over here, we will have definitely a stronger push to the upside. At least this is the first target. Okay, at 21,355 yuan, because we can expect the beginning of a T+5. Now, we have had just 4 days, so this is definitely soon to say, but potentially here we have the closing of this cycle. Okay, so here in this case, I would put a label that from this low we can expect the beginning of something like a T plus 2 to a T+3, or eventually even a T+4, if not more. Okay, now it's really as said, it's basically soon to say that, but from this low here we can expect more push toward the upside, and I can leave also an arrow, statistically speaking, that is eating to the upside. You have also to take into consideration that 77 days out of 89 means that we still have time to do what? We still have time to eventually do something like this. Okay, because the duration of a T+3 can last until 89 days, which means that it can last until 11 of December. So we might also expect, as low possibilities, a return to lower to this point by at most 11 of December 2024. But considering that we have more than a median duration, we are close to a maximum duration of 77 days, statistically speaking, we have more possibility to the upside rather than the downside. And by applying the right calculation, you can even have the right number here, because if you subtract 89 minus 48 and you have then 77, then if you if you do the right calculation, you have definitely more than 60% possibility in the next week or in the current week to the upside rather than the downside. You can make the calculation of your own, okay? But that is basically what the methodology is suggesting us. So on the Hang Seng index, I would definitely consider more trend to the upside rather than the downside, even if we still have another bit of time, a couple of weeks, to return to the to here to this low that was done on the 26th of November 2024. Okay, so that is the situation so far. Actually, from this low to here, we have at 27 bars. So I have also to update this one because this was a T+2 and not a T+1. Because we put also the question mark. So here you see that a T+2 was completed within the right duration. This was a negative one, and here we had 28 days. Okay, this is all. That's the thing. Also on the Hang Seng index. So if you liked this analysis, and I hope that has given you a lot of insights, you can put a like, you can subscribe to our channel. Feel free to comment, and if you want to have personalized ad hoc analysis on the stocks you want, I remind you that you can write directly to our email channel tradomica@gmail.com. So thanks for watching, and see you to the next episode.